Yo, what's up, everybody? I hope that you guys are good. We're going to be hopping into another video reaction. Today, we're going to be hopping into Patrick CC's video on Skate 4. I highly recommend checking out my video on Skate 4 to kind of give you a better understanding of where I sit with it, how my relations with Skate overall is, so that way I'm not taking up too much time in the intro. But to cut it shortly, I was very disappointed with Skate 4. From the gameplay reveals to the gameplay mechanics to the lack of story to not really having any relations on like offline mode or anything like that. It just felt like the overall soul of Skate is not seen within the new Skate EA game. So yeah, I'm curious to hear what Patrick CC has to say about it. The title of this video is The Death of My Favorite Video Game Series, Skate 4, and I think that kind of wraps up a little bit more of how I feel, but I'm curious to hear his thoughts about it. If you guys want to be able to check out his channel, be sure to check it out in the link below. But yeah, I hope that you guys are sitting tight, and let's see what we have to hear and say about Skate.
After 15 long years of dreaming about the release of the fourth EA Skate game, we now have it, and it's another soulless, Fortnite-modeled microtransaction scam disguised as a video game.
Okay, so I'm just going to pause it right there because I'm happy he just said it right out the gate. That's something that I felt the moment I saw this, because we've seen it before. You know, if you play games and you understand a little bit about business, we've seen this before. So, at least in my video, I was a little surprised by how many people just were so willingly accepting this just because it's free to play. You guys go ahead and feel free to play that. I'll play Skate 2, Skate 3, Skater XL Session. Like, there's other games that I can just have fun with, I'm not saying that, hey, you can't have fun with it. You can enjoy your free-to-play game.
The EA Skate franchise entirely redefined what skateboarding games should feel like. Most fans look back on them as a near-perfect trilogy, so it was almost impossible to match expectations. But the developers of this game got away with a slimy tactic. They framed the rebirth of this game as a way to give back to the fans, and that they were going to use our feedback and requests as the main driver for what this game would look and feel like.
Lies. Maybe they did. I don't know. I heard some people being on like these boards of the skateboard video game communities, but I'm like, what did you guys do? What did you guys do? I'm curious. If you literally are watching this and you were on the board, just comment below and let me know what you guys discussed, because I don't think you guys discussed anything really.
But they were lying. Fans made very simple requests. We want a story mode, the ability to skate offline by yourself. Hall of me. Hell, at least can we play an actual game of Skate? No. Almost all of the basic requests were outright ignored because they were never actually building this game for the Skate community. They were taking advantage of the Skate community.
And you can see it. I won't be pausing this much, but I'm just getting it all out there because it's just great to hear someone else just not cut around the corners and play it all safe and whatnot. Like, if we all know what is happening, we need to say something about it. And it just feels like a lot of people are just getting fugazied. It's just really great to hear at least Patrick CC touch on something like this. And I'm curious to, see if he has any greater ties towards the game. He might go into it, so let's go into it, yeah?
Using nostalgia and goodwill as bait to slowly roll out a glorified mobile game that is going to beg you to spend money on overpriced aesthetics.
Yep.
The developers stripped everything from this franchise that was great and turned it into just another soulless cash grab. And since they don't care about the legacy of Skate, this video is going to make you realize just how badly this iconic franchise has been dragged through the mud, and how it's also a grim reminder of where the entire gaming industry is headed. Because if your favorite game franchise hasn't been ruined yet, just wait.
Yep, just wait. I've had a few, and I've actually said this on the video that I made on Skate, that I already had a few games where I feel like this has happened. Not in a sense of like turning it to a mobile game and having all these microtransactions, but just the blatant lack of direction, and you can easily see it from the game that came before it, and in this instance the games that came before Skate 4.
It'll happen soon. When the very first EA Skate was announced, their promise was to be a reflection of real skateboarding culture, that raw, gritty, and rebellious nature that was highly overlooked in the mainstream. The mainstream image of skateboarding was largely shaped by the explosive success of the X Games, which debuted in 1995 and saw massive viewership by the early 2000s, with millions tuning in to watch skaters like Tony Hawk, who cemented his legacy by landing the first ever 900 at the 99 X Games. Skateboarding was transformed from an underground artistic lifestyle into a polished global sport. And I'm not demonizing the X Games. I think it was an incredibly important facet to grow interest around the world.
I agree. I mean, I think it was massive. You know, I think a lot of people associated skateboarding with this almost like people that that don't have a job and they just go out. Like they looked at it as if it was like more of like a criminal activity, when in reality there's a respect. There's a physical respect and skill level that comes with the actual sport of skateboarding. And I think the X Games really was a highlight to showcase that from all different varieties. And now look at it, you know?
It was undeniably sick to watch Danny Way launch himself over the Great Wall of China,
Crazy.
or Bob Burnquist dominate vert ramps.
Bob is kicking a freestyle right now.
That was insane. That's stupid. How the hell did he just do that?
But it's no secret that the corporate sponsors and TV-friendly presentation didn't represent the vast majority of skateboarders, who were skating in the streets, shredding handrails behind supermarkets, getting kicked out of parking garages, filming video parts on camcorders, and running from security guards. What added to the mainstream interest was the success of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game franchise. The fast-paced gameplay, iconic soundtracks, and exaggerated trick mechanics are literally some of my earliest childhood memories. But the franchise was never designed to simulate skateboarding with realism. It leaned into an arcade-style gameplay where players could chain impossible combos, perform gravity-defying tricks, and grind on power lines. Each game was over-the-top and undeniably addicting. The first game sold over 350,000 units in just the first 2 months in North America, shipping a staggering 3 million copies worldwide by spring of 2000. Pro Skater 2 proved how dominant the game was when it broke the world record for the best-selling extreme sports video game in history.
That's really awesome, because I'm not sure if you guys have played these games, but this is like way back, so I apologize if my memory isn't as clear, but the SFX or the SSX, I think it was called, the snowboarding game, oh my goodness, I put hours into that. Oh, so many hours. I need to play that game again. You guys let me know if you want me to play that on here.
Which sold over 2 million in the USA alone. As if that wasn't insane, it was beat out the very next year by Pro Skater 3, which is still the best-selling game of the series, selling over 7 million copies across all consoles to date. But things started to change when MTV became interested in skateboarding. They understood it wasn't just about acrobatic tricks, but the lifestyle and the culture behind it. They were crucial in introducing the rebellious nature of skateboarding to the mainstream. Ironically, it started with Jackass, which was a show about ridiculous stunts, pranks, wrecking your body, and laughing through the pain. But it was performed by mostly skateboarders and originally intended to just be funny cutaway scenes in between gnarly skate tricks. From there, MTV greenlit shows like Viva La Bam and Robin Big, who initially represented that skating counterculture. Bam transformed his house into what looked like a Tony Hawk video game map, and Rob would skate the streets with his bodyguard Big Black, whose job was to prevent other security guards from stopping Rob's sessions. Skateboarding had such a tight grip on the culture that MTV launched a show called Scarred, which didn't show insane tricks, but rather the exact opposite. Brutal bails, broken bones, and stunts that almost always ended in a trip to the hospital. Although the average person watched these MTV shows for the entertainment and chaos, it spoke to real skaters and aspiring skaters on a deeper level. Sure, the mega ramp is sick, but so is a backlip down a 10 stair.
And I want to highlight just what street skateboarding was able to do as well too. It just opened up more opportunities. Not a lot of people can skate on verts, let alone attempt them. I mean, they're on its own, it's a whole different ball game when it comes to street skateboarding, but that doesn't mean that creativity is any less. I feel like, if anything, street skateboarding and how it evolved showcased more potential and more creativity because of its accessibility and the culture that came around it. And I'm sure he's going to get into it when it comes to the OG regular Skate 1 game that came out, because the whole idea was about realism. It was about how to perform realistic lines, how it feels, the immersion. So I'm interested in seeing and hearing what he says about it when it comes into relation with this.
So as a blunt slide into the bank, or sometimes just a flowy driveway session rips harder than massive stunts. As these shows got more popular, street skating and the culture surrounding it became more interesting and entertaining than professional skating. And while the Tony Hawk franchise tried to capitalize on this movement aesthetically with games like Underground and American Wasteland, they had the same unrealistic, gravity-defying combos, but with a new texture. Then in 2007, EA Skate was announced, a game that promised it would not only look like realistic skating, but it would feel like realistic skating.
And that's where we started. How do we capture the experience of skateboarding? All the physical feel, the feeling of actually cracking an ollie, the feeling of doing those tricks and getting that sense of mastery. As fans of the Tony Hawk series, it was time to really bring the feeling of skateboarding out.
Do you hear that? Oh man, this is giving me like nostalgia, but it almost honestly gets me more pissed off, because just comparing that, just that video to the videos that we got when Skate was the newest one was being made. It's just there's a weird facade with like the interviews and the conversations that were in the previous. I mean, not in the previous, but in the newer Skate games. It's just there's a weird corporate facade over it. I don't know how you guys can't feel that. For those of you that are probably like, James, what are you talking about? I guess it's just one of those things where if you just seen enough of it, you can develop like actual patterns. But for those of you that can't see that pattern, it really does. It blows me away how people just can't see that, can't feel that. They can't feel the corporate strings behind something. Whereas like this one, yes, it's still under the corporate guise of EA, but you can still feel the passion. You can still feel that urge of creation. And that's not even just with Skate. You can even see that with Halo. You know what I'm saying? Like Halo, Call of Duty, I mean, even Battlefield, right? Like times really has changed. It's wild.
The first trailer they released embodies just how different this game was going to be.
Yep. Look at that. No crazy maneuvers, no nothing.
You didn't need
You're
to
just
grind
flowing.
on power lines above a city. Just bombing a hill or hitting an 8-stair was exciting enough. It was about hearing the realistic sound effects of the wheels sliding on the concrete. It was about feeling the freedom of cruising in an open world. From the beginning, EA marketed Skate as a real skater's game, saying just like your real first time on the board feels a bit awkward at first, but with some practice, it opens up the more you play it. What made these trailers even more impactful was that they were being posted across YouTube at a time when most game studios were still relying on magazines or TV commercials. Blackbox, the game's developers, leaned into the internet's growing skate community to spread the word. I have vivid memories of searching EA Skate updates on YouTube in 2007, and every day after school watching the same few videos over and over again, just dying to play this game. I was devastated to find out that they announced it would be exclusively released on next-generation consoles, which at the time was the Xbox 360 and PS3, and at that time I only had a PlayStation 2. So this was the first time that a game would be literally unavailable to me, and as much as it sucked, it kind of gave it this aura.
I feel like me and Patrick are either the same age, or he probably got me by like, I want to say 2-4 years max. I feel like we're around the same age because I had a similar experience. I played the first Skate game on the PlayStation 3, but I had a PlayStation 2. So I kind of, lucked out when Christmas came around.
It was a new chapter for gaming, and it took months and months of begging, but ultimately I was able to convince my parents to buy me an Xbox 360 as well as Skate for Christmas in 2007.
There you go,
I still remember buying the console at Walmart, setting it
Yeah.
up in my dad's living room, and sitting on the floor and staying up all night to play the game. Not to exaggerate, but it kind of changed my life.
I don't blame you,
EA
man.
Skate
I don't
actually-
blame you. Like it low-key did change my life as well too. It was like I wouldn't say Skate really did that for me. It was really Skate 2 for me, because that's when that motivated me to get my first board. It introduced me to the skater magazines, to the culture, to me actually skateboarding and going out and get my first skateboard. And yeah, man, like that changed a lot for my childhood, for sure.
Introduced you and included real
Dang,
street
Carl's
skaters
bad.
into the fabric
Yeah.
of the story. You
Sure
had
know about
P-Rod,
Carl's
Chris
bad.
Cole,
Hi.
John Rattray, PJ Ladd, of course, Rob Deerdeck and Big Black. They even threw in real footage of real skaters and some cutscenes to remind you just how rad these dudes actually were. But easily the most exciting new feature that Skate was introducing was their Flick It technology, which totally dismantled the button mashing style of the Tony Hawk series.
When you're playing the game, your left stick, that's your body. So you're steering left and right, pulling it back to get into power slides. Push forward, your guy will crouch. And then your right stick, that controls your board. So I'm gonna pull back, crouch for a little bit to get ready for a big ollie, and then flick it forward. That's why it's called Flick It, because you...
Man, I gotta also say, the times where I would just cruise around and Skate 2, and I would just play New Javis and Jay Dilla in the background, some MF Doom. Like, this game really introduced me to a lot of things at the same time. Like, not to say that skateboarding introduced me to MF Doom and all that, but it was like the perfect alignment where I just grabbed all of the best things and I just merged them together, and I just have such great memories.
You flick the stick forward, it's that simple. And off to the side, in our game, that'll give you a kickflip. So you actually get something out of whatever you do with the stick, including swinging it around to the side. And so crouching and then throwing it forward, however much force you put into it, that's what your ollie is. And you can also push forward and pop off the front to get nollies, and a whole combination of gestures to get all the different flip tricks that are out there.
Skate also introduced small details that felt realistic. You couldn't just land tricks from any height. If the gap was too high, it was impossible to land. You'd fall no matter how many times you tried, if you didn't know the glitch. If you were going too fast, your board would wobble. It would be a lot harder to power slide if you were going too fast.
I don't even think they had the speed wobble in Skate 2. You guys let me know. I definitely don't think they had it in Skate 3, but that's really cool. I definitely remember the speed wobbles.
You couldn't grind infinitely. You'd lose speed on rails and curbs if you didn't have enough momentum going into the trick. You could pump your body on vert ramps to gain speed just like a rail transition skater, not needing to push your board in between ramps. It was clear that the black box developers had consulted real skateboarders to depict the physics as accurately as possible while still giving it a video game feel. And even though they included the X Games and Mega Park where you could hit a mega ramp and get some big air, it kinda still felt limited to something Danny Way could do in real life. The map felt like a regular city that happened to have some sick skate spots. You had clean corporate plazas, dark and dirty alleyways, brand new skate parks, and decrepit old skate parks.
And look how gritty everything is. I mean, the cool thing about the, Skate 1, Skate 2, I would say a little bit with Skate 3 as well too, is that you really were able to customize your own style of skateboarding within the environment. It was always so cool being able to kick it with my friend and just hitting the same spot and doing the same lines but differently. You know what I'm saying? Like, just similar to like regular skateboarding. It was just so cool, but even like the overall look at it, like just look. Like it's just so it's like something gritty to it. The board has a lot more weight to it. I love that the camera's lower. I love that everything is about immersion rather than just being able to have infinite play styles and infinite things that you can do as long as you pay for it.
Parks. A perfect mix to fit whatever vibe you were feeling that day. They also added pedestrians to make it feel real and occupied, although they added an extremely annoying feature where they would just kind of mill around wherever you were skating to get in the way. There were even banned locations where if you skated them, a security guard would chase you and try to knock you off your board, which created these tense moments where the pressure was on.
Such a good feature. Such a great feature. My goodness, I loved it, because in reality, I don't know about you guys, but I got like scared a little bit. Like I knew I had to really lock in because there were cops around that would try to physically push me off my board. And I think they really updated even more with Skate 2.
And overall, they had this gritty aesthetic, with a vignette over the screen and a low camera angle to mimic a cameraman following you capturing your lines. But it wasn't just the controls, physics, and aesthetic that made Skate feel like real skateboarding, it was the challenges and career mode.
Yeah.
Instead of cartoonish missions or collecting floating letters, Skate gave you the kind of goals that mirrored an actual skater's career.
And they also had Skate. How can you have a Skate game and not have Skate as a feature? Watch them try to like sell that to y'all. And you guys still try to justify, oh, it's free to play. Man, I knew it was bummy the moment they didn't add the feature Skate. You guys can't tell me nothing. I don't care what y'all say. I don't care how much EA's paying y'all. I don't care.
A photographer from Thrasher magazine would text you and challenge you to do a trick. He would snap a photo of you completing the trick and post it on the cover of their next magazine. You'd also be challenged to film lines for a fictional skate video, and you could also edit those video clips and upload them online for other players to see. Your videographer was essentially your right-hand man throughout the game, who was hyping you up whenever you landed something sick or holding you accountable if you were messing up. There were pool jams and tight bowls. They had intense downhill death races through city streets where dodging pedestrians and carving past cars
incredible.
felt like something straight out of a video. And last but certainly not least, you could play an actual game of Skate. For those who don't know, Skate is basically the same exact thing as horse and basketball.
Dude,
one person sets a trick, the other has to do the exact same trick, and if you don't, you get a letter. And the game ends when you spell out SKATE. The inclusion of the real-life version of Skate was a love letter to the culture.
Yes,
it felt like something
yes, it
skaters
was.
actually do because they do, and the
Yeah.
developers knew that. As you completed missions, you would secure sponsorship deals with real skate brands like Lakai.
And I want to keep that in mind, as he's probably going to go through every Skate game and just noticed how every Skate game up until Skate, the newest one, Skate 1 all the way to Skate 3, they have Skate. It's a rite of passage. You can't just not have it. It's similar to when, what game took out, like, split screen? I think that was Halo, right? Like, they took off split screen. And the community got into an uproar about that because it's like, yeah, why would you do that? And then when you ask yourself why, and you ask why the company, why the business would do it, it all makes sense. They're trying to get your money. It's crazy. So yeah, like when they didn't add Skate in the new Skate game, you have to ask yourself, okay, well, why the hell will they not do that? It's not like it's incredibly hard or anything, right? Like they've already gotten the hard part done, which is build the foundation of the game. What's the difficulty of doing that? And I have to ask myself, oh, maybe they're going to probably try and sell it to me later on in life because it's free to play, right? It's insane, man.
Girl and Plan B, you'd earn gear from those brands and ultimately build up your respect as a skater. And even if you weren't doing challenges, you were just casually skating around, you'd visualize and map out the trick line in your head and try to land it. You had to work for it, like a real skater did. And when you finally landed the trick, you felt accomplished. You weren't just mindlessly playing a game, Skate made you think like a skater. For anyone who grew up skateboarding or watching skateboard videos, the media's representation of it always felt off. But this game got it right. After its release, even EA was shocked with how well it sold. Within its first few weeks, Skate had sold hundreds of thousands of copies, outselling its direct competitor, Tony Hawk's Proving Ground, nearly 2-1. Black Box wasn't just trying to steal some market share from the Tony Hawk franchise. They were legitimately trying to create a new approach to all action sports video games. And while it wasn't a perfect game, what it did have was soul. And after it captured the hearts of fans around the world, they would absolutely shock their community with the upgrades made in the sequel, Skate 2.
And before he touches on probably my favorite Skate game within the series, what Patrick said is important, soul. And a lot of y'all, not a lot, I think it's honestly just a few of you guys, but the majority of us who grew up with Skate and has played Skate, who has skateboarded, or even just had an interest within the sport itself, soul is the most important factor. You know, when you're making a Skate game, we're not asking you to make Uncharted. You know what I'm saying? We're not expecting for the Last of Us narrative or anything like that. We're not looking for a masterpiece. We're looking to have something that has soul in it. You know, I think that's one of the reasons why Minecraft is doing so well is because not only do I think the overall like original game has a lot of soul towards it, but the community and the connection with the community provides even more of a soul towards it. And so what I think he's going to get into more with Skate 2 is how both the community was able to add more soul into it, and how the game itself from the developers and how they went about building the game and improving on things that they wanted to improve on still maintain that soul. It's such a love letter to skateboarding and just, I don't know, just a good game in general, right? So yeah, let's hear about Skate 2 now.
Skate 2 is considered by die-hard fans to be the best in the series.
Yeah.
It took everything that worked in the first game and just pushed it a little further. The controls were just a little smoother, the animations were just a little more accurate, and the map was just a little bigger. But it didn't lose any of the things that made the first game so great. Well, besides the soundtrack. The second soundtrack is okay, it's good, it's solid, but the first game was too legendary to beat.
I don't blame him. Yo, Patrick, man, you're preacher right now. I'm not going to lie, the Skate 2 soundtrack wasn't really all that. I kind of turned it off and played my music instead. Like I said, Nujabes, MF Doom, J Dilla, just like OG hip-hop, Japanese funk, all that cool stuff. And I would just skate around. It's good for you. You know, it's good for the soul. It's just nice to be able to use your brain and just kind of turn it off, but still keeping it on. Like, I'm not brain dead when I'm playing Skate.
The city of San Vanelona had changed after a massive earthquake, giving the map a more gritty, weathered feel. The wear and tear on your character was much more noticeable, being dirty, bloody, and bruised after skating and falling for hours.
Yeah, you
the
can beat up in
introduction of the
this game.
spillway was incredible. We would spend hours ripping through this thing at dangerous
man.
speeds.
Yeah. And a cool thing about that location is that, and honestly, it's my favorite map because I think Skate 2, there was rarely any loading screens. I think only when you had to go to like the indoor mega structures or maybe like some like secret pool that's like behind like a house. But even then, I think there wasn't any loading screens. But for this place in particular, I remember bombing down the spillway, and you could literally just bomb it all the way down to this other section of the map. You know, you start all the way in the forest section and you bomb it all the way down to where you'll be closer towards like the inner city, and all with no loading screens. It was just such an awesome time, especially during the death races. Bruh, like, come on, man.
One of the most celebrated features in Skate 2 was the ability to get off your board and move objects around.
Yes, that was huge.
I can't tell you how many times I played Skate 1 and just thought, man, if I could just get off my board and walk up these stairs. This was an absolute game changer.
Bro.
You could now drag ramps, benches, rails, and pads into position to build your own lines or reconfigure iconic spots.
And again, you know, we're talking about soul and how this game really built its community. And honestly, I think Skate 3 really did even a bigger job with it because of the internet. But again, just the whole tandem between you creating your own lines and then you being able to interact with people online and moving around stuff, it was just incredible. I think it took the infinite possibilities that I think a lot of games want to do now because of that free-to-play option, but they actually gave some type of novelty towards it rather than just being like, oh, well, yeah, you can, you know, technically you can do anything you want. You can spawn in the air and do all this crazy stuff. Whereas with this, you can just use the environment in the game that was built around you to create that infinite mentality rather than the game itself just being like, oh, yeah, it's open air.
It gave players more freedom and creativity than before, and it also helped the game last longer. If you got bored, you could start building your own spots. The career mode remained basically the same: magazine cover shoots, filming sick lines with real skaters like Eric Costin, Terry Kennedy, Jerry Hsu, but they also introduced the legendary Hall of Meat, which was a hilarious and brutal challenge mode that rewarded players for intentionally wiping out in the most painful way possible. The online mode in Skate 2 was also a massive step forward. While the first game game had limited multiplayer functionality, Skate 2 fully embraced the online skating community. Players could now join free skate lobbies with up to 6 people, where they could explore the city together, hit spots, and session lines just like real life. Now you could share your skating experience, vibing and cruising through the city with friends across the world. But this was still 2008 and 2009, where most people were still not used to or just overly expecting an online gameplay element. The vast majority of skate players' preference was to still play alone or taking turns on the controller with friends in real life. And I really want you all to just look at, digest, remember, and feel this Skate 2 aesthetic, because after looking at all of these Skate 2 clips, the new game just looks like an absolute joke.
Which is insane. How does time move forward, but progression goes backwards? Yeah, like these type of things I ask myself, because it's not even just within skate, it's within the gaming industry, it's within the movie industry, it's within like a lot of industries, and it's just like, why is this happening? Like, what is really going on? And it just feels like now, especially with Netflix, you know, them saying like, oh yeah, our competition isn't other streaming services, it's your time, it's for your attention. Now I feel like games are being made to specifically keep you on the platform for as long as possible. Whereas beforehand, games can, I would hope. I mean, now, I'm not too sure, but ideally you would like them to, last as long as you can. But, there's an eventual point to where you move on to the next project, right? But now it seems like a lot of games are being made to just be worked upon, instead of like, the next GTA 7s and 8s and 9s and 10s. It just feels like, yeah, this is going to be like the last GTA, and then they're just going to stack on top of that. I'm not saying that that's what's happening. I'm just saying that that's just like an example of how I feel a lot of games now are being made. They're kind of being made with this MMO standpoint, when in reality it's like, I have no problem with that, but if you're taking liberties in the soul of the video game, it's not worth it. Like I said, I'd much rather pay for your game than strip out all the details and say, oh, but you can have it for free. I don't understand that. I'm trying to give you my money. What do you mean? It's crazy, man.
The Skate franchise was now the standard for what a skateboarding video game should be like, and that was partially why the Tony Hawk series was starting to fall off. Skate 2 was an amazing sequel to an already amazing game, and it received strong reviews across nearly every major gaming publication. Skate 2 is technically an improvement over the first title, and anyone who hadn't yet played the original should skip it and go right to the second. It's a really fun game that allows you to play it the way you want with a control scheme that is second to none at the moment. Unfortunately, Skate 2 did not have as strong sales numbers. It didn't have as explosive numbers as the first edition. They were still okay, but they needed to make some big changes if they wanted to see financial success with Skate 3, even if it meant slightly abandoning their initial promise. If Tony Hawk Pro Skater represents totally unrealistic arcade-style skating, and Skate 1 represents more of a simulated reality, Skate 2 would be dead in the middle, and Skate 3 would be closer to Tony Hawk's arcade style.
Yeah, so I think he's completely right, when it comes to where these games lie in between realism and arcadic. Obviously, I personally think Skate 2 is like right in the middle. Skate 3 is a little bit towards arcadey, but not super arcadey, there's still realism within it, and yeah, you have like the difficulty settings, but it never really had that realism and that grittiness to Skate 2. However, I still want to be clear. Skate 3 was still very, very good in my opinion, because it still kept the soul. And what I mean by that are the skaters, the video editing, playing Skate, playing a game of Skate, having the death races, having the story mode, having offline. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Like, imagine all those things within the new Skate game. This wouldn't be a problem. I wouldn't, like, my only complaint is like, oh, it feels a little bit more arcadey than Skate 3, but I wouldn't have this disappointment on my face when it comes to talking about the new skate game, because it still would have the death races. It would have these skateboarders that you can skate along with. You can still do this and still do that. But my problem is that all of those are vacant. All of those are vacant. And for those of the people that are saying, but you could just skate. That's what it's all about. Bro, of course you could just skate. Oh, my God. Like, yeah, you play a game and you push buttons. It doesn't mean that the game is, like, going to be good or it's going to be bad. You build upon that. Yeah, it's crazy. So let's see what he has to say about Skate 3.
Style. Skate 3 kinda did the opposite of what made it a breakout game in the first place and leaned further into a more arcade-style gameplay. Firstly, the aesthetic felt a lot more cartoony. Everything was a little rounder, a little softer. Your character would get dirty and bloody from falling, but it was nowhere near the grit and ruggedness of Skate 2. The new city, Port Carverton, was a stark contrast to the destroyed San Vanalona.
It was like the perfect utopia for skateboarding. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was like a skater's dream, quite literally. I think I remember hearing somebody. This is like the lore, if you guys don't know, that you either die. I think it was like in Skate 2 or the beginning of Skate 3, and this world is supposed to be your utopia, your perfect world as a skateboarder.
It was cleaner, brighter, less textured, more open, and most importantly, it felt perfect. In fact, the entire lore of the city changed. In Skate 2, skating was outlawed. In Skate 3, it was encouraged.
Yeah.
Cops were gone, security was gone, and you were now skating in a world built for you. There's even a very believable conspiracy theory that you were actually dead in Skate 3, because in the beginning of the story mode, your character has a huge bail from possibly 50 or 60 feet in the air. One that any real human could not survive. But then you wake up and the rest of the game is you in heaven in the ultimate skateboard utopia. In Skate 3, the difficulty of the game dropped significantly. You could land impossible tricks way too easily, the board physics were more forgiving, and the raw tension that made the first two games so rewarding just wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, it was a lot more user-friendly.
Riding a small 8-stair in this game was not nearly as immersive or fun. The best way to play this game was to go to the Super Ultra Mega Park or the new Spillway and send massive unrealistic tricks. The Industrial Zone was my personal favorite. The unique quarry was perfect for high speeds and big flowy sections.
I'm trying to think what was my favorite part within Skate 3. I don't want to be a copycat and just say the Industrial Zone, because I love the street. I love the street skateboarding, and that honestly was my favorite part. I'm trying to think. Was there any other map? Is there any other map that I'm missing? I mean, what I did love most about Skate 3 was the customizable maps that creators made on there. So I would just download maps that people created, like Carlsbad High, and I would play that. People made like their own personal maps that just don't exist but still reflected realistic skate parks. Those are usually my favorite parks to skate at.
And this rusty old ship port was the closest thing to the gritty feel of the previous games. Now, they did introduce different difficulties. You had easy, normal, and hardcore, but I always felt that hardcore mode didn't make the game look and feel more realistic. It just made everything harder to do for the sake of making it harder. It felt like EA was trying to widen the appeal for Skate 3, making it more fun for casual players that enjoyed the Tony Hawk style games.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, this still has soul. And just in case you guys are confused as to what I'm talking about, again, I will rephrase what I'm saying. The reason why, even though despite the arcadic push Skate 3 has, especially compared to Skate 2 and especially with Skate 1, the reason why this thing has soul is because it still had all the elements from the previous game. Again, you can still offline. You can still play story mode. You can still have an actual story. You can, have a whole map to skate around. You can play skate games. You can, have death races. You can do this. You can do that. All that were within the previous games are still here. It just feels a little bit more user-friendly, a little bit more arcadey. And, I can have opinions on that, but I'm still going to play the game because it has the soul that was in the previous games. And so when we come to the newer skate game, it doesn't have that. I don't want to play it.
which is why challenges like Hall of Meat significantly ramped up. Now you could get to much higher locations, and the falls were much more brutal. You would get a score based on how many bones you broke, how far you fell, and how much damage you took, and they included these sort of emotes that allowed for more unique falls. Also, highlighting exactly what bones you broke in red was a really nice touch. Even though this was the furthest thing from realistic, everyone agrees Hall of Meat was a hilarious aspect that made that game addicting. And even though Skate 3 was now the furthest thing from realistic, it still had the spirit of skate culture. Once again, real skaters. And everyone's new favorite fictional character, Coach Frank,
Coach
who was your chaotic and silly skate coach teaching you how to live up to your full potential. The story mode was about building a skate brand. You started as an underground skater with one goal: sell 1 million boards. That premise alone is a perfect metaphor that skateboarding often starts as an independent pursuit, but slowly transforms into something more corporate. You built a team, picked real sponsors, and grew your squad from local to mainstream. And even though Skate 2 is for more of the purists, I loved Skate 3. And even with the arcade style gameplay, it still had enough respect and inclusion of real skate culture to be the perfect successor of the series. And this was during the era when YouTube was starting to become the center of gaming culture. Blackbox saw this and capitalized hard. They implemented a new Skate Reel replay video editor, which was basically perfect. You could do all these different camera angles, edit them with music and effects, and then just upload them straight to EA servers or share them online. They also added an object dropper functionality, so you could spawn ramps, rails, and props mid-session, basically making the entire map customizable. YouTubers like PewDiePie and Jacksepticeye started posting Skate 3 content and gaining millions of views. Skate 3 performed better commercially than Skate 2, selling over 2.6 million copies and became the highest selling game in the franchise, thanks in part to its growing online community.
Yeah, I would like to say the online community really came through later on with Skate 3, because I remember playing Skate 3 when it came out, and it wasn't until like 2 years after the game came out, or maybe when the game sort of like started fading a little bit, YouTube just took it and just ran with it. I don't know what really popped off during that time, but all I know is there was like another wave of traction when it came to Skate 3 because of just the internet.
And after Skate 3, the fanbase was desperately awaiting the announcement of Skate 4. Every E3, every EA Play event, Skate fans tuned in hoping for even a mention, but got nothing. 2011, 2012, 2013 went by, and EA didn't even deny Skate 4, they just remained silent. But little did we know, Electronic Arts was making some drastic business changes behind the scenes. In 2012, they announced that EA in Vancouver is transforming its studio to align with EA's transformation to high-growth digital formats, including online, social gaming, and free-to-play. Although Skate 3 sold an okay amount of copies, it was mere pennies compared to their FIFA series. For example, FIFA 12, which released in the same year Skate 3 peaked in popularity, sold over 8 million copies in just 4 weeks.
You can't beat that.
But more importantly, FIFA had Ultimate Team and in-game purchases. In fact, by 2015, EA was earning over $1.3 billion per year from Ultimate Team microtransactions alone across FIFA, Madden, and NHL. Everything EA touched started to feel like it was solely designed for cash instead of adding new value to their respective games communities. Simply put, Skate just did not fit into EA's new business model. They had a massive round of layoffs in 2013. They closed PopCap Vancouver and Quicklime Games, a studio comprised of former EA Blackbox employees that developed Skate. However, what EA didn't realize at the time was that Skate 3 was far from dead. In fact, over the next decade, it would become more popular than ever, largely thanks to YouTubers like ZexyZek, who essentially rebranded Skate 3 from a kinda sorta realistic skateboarding simulator into a straight-up sandbox playground for ragdoll physics.
And I want to clarify, I have no problem with that, by the way. You know, it's a video game, especially if you pay for it, you can do whatever the hell you want with it. I really think it's fun to glitch a game out. I remember Skate 2. Oh, dog. This might be like way past people's memory, but like there was a specific glitch that would just like you would just explode into the air, and it would just be cool as hell. And that's why I really loved about Skate 2 is like, again, you wouldn't like go to like loading screens or anything like that. Your dude would just fly across the map. like a rag doll. I remember those glitches, and again, I think they're fun as hell. There's no gripes I have against glitching out the game. I think it's great to, you know, play with things that are meant to be broken or maybe not meant to be broken. See what happens.
Massive jumps, and pushing the limits of the game that the developers couldn't have even imagined. Even non-skate fans were watching these videos because it sort of Mr. Beastified the game. I would watch these videos because they accomplished things that, firstly, I could never even imagine, and even if I could, they were so over the top that I would never spend the time or effort trying to do them while playing the game myself. However, in 2014, nearly 4 years after its release, Skate 3 was reprinted and restocked due to its popularity on YouTube. By 2016, it had sold more copies post-launch than it did in its first year. And because of this, rumors persisted that EA would make Skate 4. I mean, clearly the demand was there, right? But they finally confirmed 7 years later in 2017 that they were not actively developing Skate 4. So the fandom gave up, and they just appreciated the trilogy for what it was. But then, independent studios started investing in the action sports genre. Games like Pipe and Skater XL popped up on Steam, providing a simple, realistic action sports simulator. Skater XL actually challenged the original Skate's realism, where now you had to use both joysticks to control the board. This game was much harder to learn, but much more realistic. And suddenly, there was a resurgence in demand. And in 2020, at the height of the pandemic, in a time where misery persisted online, nobody believed what they heard at this EA Play event.
The moment is here. We finally get to say,
we're back, we're doing it, Skate's happening, we're rolling. We've secretly got together, it's the beginning, the Skate evolution continues.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
To make the right game at the right time with the right idea, and really pleased to say that we're here. It is really early.
Still, we've got a long way to go, but we're stoked, and this is just the beginning.
And seriously, we really can't wait to bring you guys in and have you be a part of it with us.
We want to thank you for your passion, your patience, and all the support that you've shown, you know, us to get to this point.
The comments.
It's amazing. We cannot believe you commented this into existence. Amazing. Skate changed my life. Thank you so much. Skate forever.
There was no gameplay shown, but that didn't matter. For the community, it was the realization that after 10 years, the Skate franchise was finally back.
10 years, y'all. 10 years. And you guys are gonna justify what's happening? That's crazy. That's crazy. The only people I could see doing that are like people that got into Skate 3 after 4 years of it being released. I feel like those are like the only people that could justify what's happening here. If you're like an OG skater and like you played Skate 1 and you're justifying what's happening to Skate right now, I don't even know what to tell you, man. I don't know what to tell you. EA got you, bruh. EA got you. I'm hoping you make it out, man, because you are in a big old puddle, bruh.
And even more exciting, Cuz Perry, the lead creative developer of the first 3 games, was also returning to produce Skate 4. His involvement gave fans hope that this game would hit just as hard as the trilogy. The news was almost unbelievable, especially considering there were no updates for a full year after the initial announcement, until an official Skate YouTube channel uploaded a video titled, "We're working on it."
Truth is, it's early. We're still working on it.
You're joking. Has anyone seen gameplay?
Well, a couple people have seen it.
What people?
Ah! Sick.
It's about time.
They've seen it?
It just looks beautiful. This whole
playing
open
online
world.
sessions like that.
Up the board,
So
looking back.
Oh, God. Oh,
And
my
those 2 sound
goodness.
bites in there were key. A guy saying, "It reminds me of Skate 2," and "Cool, you're listening to the fans." We didn't know it yet, but those were so far from the truth.
Exactly,
After
they were
another
so far.
long year with no
practically
update, a video
lying.
called "Still Working on It" dropped that featured the first official gameplay, proving that this thing was real. In the bottom corner, they reminded everyone that this was pre-alpha, which explains the absence of textures and buildings. And again, in this video, they were reminding everyone that they are creating what the fans wanted.
Now, I remember when this came out, man, and I was actually really hyped about Skate 4. It's like, yeah, I accept the fact that they weren't going to go back to things like Skate 2 or even try to integrate features that Skater XL or Session did, but even from what I was seeing on an early stage, it looked like it just looked good, right? It looked good. I may not like the aesthetic, but hey, you can skate, right? And I'm sure they'll have like a story mode, right? I'm sure they'll have like, you know, skate the game and death races and all the other things that were just already baked into previous games, right? And y'all gonna pay for that, huh? You guys are crazy.
You told us and started building.
With a community as passionate as Skate's, it seemed like a no-brainer for the developers to treat their core fans as a massive free survey pool to help guide them in building the best game possible. And I can't express enough that they made it clear that transparency was at the forefront of this game's development. Skate released a show on their YouTube called The Boardroom, a developer sit-down where they discussed the game's progress and directly addressed community feedback. The series ran for 5 episodes, alongside other content the team was regularly putting out. They read comments and provided answers to the community. It was this type of communication with fans that is almost never seen in the development of other games.
We wanted to remove as many barriers to entry as possible so that everyone can play together on day one, regardless of price or platform. So that's why the next Skate game would be a free-to-play title available to gamers around the world.
Man, if you wanted it to be more accessible, then at least make it $5 and keep all the other stuff in the other games. Like, this whole free-to-play is such a cop-out excuse to get away with the most batshit crazy schematic business maneuvers to try and get you to play a game on their platform and spend more money than the original game. It's just, like, I can't believe this is happening. And that's why a lot of people are saying it's Fortnite. You know, like, we're not saying like, oh, it's bad to be Fortnite, but you're taking methods that Fortnite uses to keep people on their game. It just doesn't, like, and it sucks because, like, listen, if you want to go ahead and do that, at least make it as good as the other previous games. But you remove everything. You took out the soul and you're like lugging around this lifeless corpse of Skate. As like, oh yeah, guys, it's like, yo, it's lifeless, it's dead. Put it down.
However, little by little, as fans got more information from the developers, the more skeptical they became. I think everyone trusts Full Circle, but nobody trusts EA. Free-to-play is kinda scary.
Agreed.
We need a story mode for this game.
Agreed.
Makes me nervous they only mentioned multiplayer. It was also in this video that they made a very important distinction. This game is not the 4th edition of the franchise.
Okay, throw the bottles and everything at me now. No, it's not Skate 4, and here's the reason. This isn't a sequel. It's not a remake.
Cop out.
It's not a reboot.
Copping
prequel.
out.
It's not any of that. It's not a
It's
remake.
fake.
Remaster.
Cop
whatever
out,
you can
man.
do. This
Oh,
is it.
I'm
It's
so
Skate.
disappointed,
We're in it for
bro.
long haul. That means we're not an iterative title. There won't be a Skate 5 through 10. We won't be pumping them out all the time. We're going to do this. We're going to listen to what you guys say over the course of time and put the features that you guys want into it.
Basically, they are saying this is an entirely new game, not a continuation of the original franchise. While that might be true from a developmental standpoint, it also kind of felt like a slimy strategic move.
Absolutely.
By avoiding the Skate
It
4
is.
label, they gave themselves more cushion against backlash. If the game didn't live up to expectations, they could always fall back on, well, this was never meant to be Skate 4, because it was evident that they were capitalizing on the fandom of the original, using similar branding, a similar map, similar playstyle, comparing to previous games.
I never understood why people were like, oh yeah, this isn't Skate 4, it's its own Skate game. Well, why are they using the same font? Like what? Like why like just make a different game? You can still skateboard, but just make a whole different game. And I think if you had a story, it would help differentiate your game if you wanted to not be a part of Skate series. But no, your intentions was to make this thing where you can continue building on it like it's Destiny or something. It's such a bummer.
But ultimately dismissing anyone who says this was Skate 4.
For the love of God, just call the game Skate 4, not Skate, for the second time.
No. Sorry, the game is just Skate. It's not Skate 4.
Yep. Please tell me Skate 4 is coming to PS4. Skate 4 is not.
Skate 4 is not coming to PS4, but Skate will be.
In 2022, they released a bunch of updates and playtest videos. You could feel the game getting closer and closer to looking complete, but it wasn't necessarily matching with the core fans' vision. As the devs read more comments and responded to fans, it became extremely clear that they were cherry-picking non-critical or super niche comments to give the illusion of transparency while ignoring the major concerns from the players, like how nearly all the top comments are about wanting an offline mode and story mode, which is never addressed. But in the video, you get random, pointless questions answered.
Do you guys even play the game? Who's better?
No one cares. No one cares. And if you think you care about this question, you're a liar. You need to go look in the mirror and ask who you really are, because you are not you. You are EA's. That's crazy. What is going on?
Oh, yes.
Skate has been officially announced to release in 2025, and EA has provided a number of YouTubers with sponsored early access to the playtest, and fans are extremely disappointed with what they see. Right off the bat, the most noticeable is the art style. Skate 3 was already cartoonish, but Skate has absolutely zero grit. Everything is clean, pristine, and sometimes ramps are just these bright, unnatural colors. It literally looks like Fortnite on skateboards. Now, that might not be a deal breaker if everything else felt authentic, but that's not the case. So far, we have no confirmation on whether or not there will be a story mode, which means no progression system. You just exist in a giant open world map with other players and just skate around doing challenges with no actual goal.
And people will say, oh, but that's what Skate's all about. Just skate. You know, you could just have fun. Just skate. You could just turn off all the features. You don't have to buy anything. You can just skate. Man, what are you people, bro? I don't understand it. Like I just don't get it. You guys have, you literally have evidence of prior games that give you more that you can still play to this day. That's why I never understood it, right? Like when I put up my video, there were like a few comments that said like, oh, well, you don't have to play it. I'm like, yeah, I won't be playing it. I'm perfectly cool playing Skate 2 and Skate 3 and Skater XL. I got 3 games to play from that I can just cycle through whenever I want. I'm good. I'm not playing this, but yeah, it's bizarre how, you know, where we're at in society where people are just accepting bare bones stuff. It's like being lured into a casino and you guys don't have any money, yet you're still getting you guys are still gonna get plugged out of more money. I don't understand it.
Time to rip.
Bad investments
Use
all
your
over.
skater eyes to visualize and utilize the grind potential here. And watch your speed. Getting into grinds requires control. Hit the spot fast enough to grind, but slow enough to lock it in.
She don't even sound like the other dude. She doesn't even sound like him. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just like it's like you're talking to an AI. What the hell?
Know the ledge. Nice. Those skater eyes are working.
Skater eyes?
Skater eyes employed.
Skater eyes employed?
Getting sponsored, taking
brother.
photos for magazines, filming video
bad.
parts, that's all
I didn't
gone.
know about that.
The first question they asked the players during the playtest is, how interested would you say you are in skateboard culture? I find myself wondering what they will use this data to interpret. The hopeful side of me says that a lot of people will click, yes, I'm very interested, and then they will include some actual skate culture into the game. But the realist in me says most people will probably say that they're not interested, and they'll continue to make this children's game, because there is really no skateboard culture in this game at all. There are no professional skaters involved that gave Skate its connection to real skateboarding fans. There are no death races, another classic fan favorite mode. There's no custom parks, which is what let the community thrive for so long after Skate 3. But the biggest slap in the face is that you can't even play a game of Skate. How are you gonna have a video game called Skate and you can't even play the game that has been a foundational part of the culture for decades?
Crazy. It's the same reason as to how can you have a new Halo game and you can't have split screen. People are going to find ways to justify still playing it. I don't know why. I don't know why you guys are like this. You know what I'm saying? Because the markets move with the people. You know what I'm saying? It moves with your money. That's why it sucks because, like, yeah, I have a lot of optimism, but I'm also a realist as well, too. And when you see the majority of people still buying FIFA and NFL, Madden, and, like NBA 2K, and it's just the same cycle over and over and over again. And there's just so many people doing it. It's like, what's the point? What's the point? My advice for anybody that's in that mind state, and hopefully, you know, don't fall too deep into that rabbit hole of just nihilism, is to just play the games and support the games that you genuinely find artistic, find very incredible, and just support them. Like, really, really, you know, like, supporting them already with your money is good, but, you know, hey, maybe shouting them out on Instagram, maybe emailing them saying like, yo, this game is like actually really, really good. Like, those things really go a long way. I've practiced doing that a lot more in my life, because it just seems as time goes on and more people are being procreated, and it just seems like before we reach a top end on the other side, we're going to kind of have to keep going through this cycle of just terrible stuff, man. Terrible stuff, same cycle. So again, if you guys want to like do your best to fight against that as individuals, not speaking to you guys as a collective, because collectively you guys clearly don't be caring. So individually, for those out there, I highly recommend just, you know, really supporting the games that you like to play, playing those games that you like to play as well too, and hopefully, you know, things change. But man, this is a bummer. It's so disappointing. That's like the one word that keeps coming up.
Your cameraman is actually just the camera that's been
kidding?
Pixarified to be your cute little sidekick friend.
There it is. Your very own board. Your key to the city.
All of the skateboarding lingo has been removed. Whenever you complete a challenge, the narrator will say things like, skater eyes deploy Bill buying skins for their favorite skater. Which, by the way, if you want to buy a skate deck, a t-shirt, shoes, we're not talking about 50 cents or $1 a piece. These items cost $5 each.
You guys are goofy for letting this happen. You guys are goofy for letting this happen. They don't even give you the 50 cents, bro. Like, even... Like, I would still dislike all the things that are happening, but the fact that they make it $5 a board, are you kidding me? I didn't have to pay for those things. I just played the game, and I was able to unlock boards. I mean, in Skate 3, there was like a way you could just customize your own board for free. Oh, man. This is cooked. This is so cooked. This is fried, actually.
Basically, if you wanted to fully customize your skater head to toe and the skateboard, it'll cost you the same price as the entire Skate 3 game, which previously all customization was unlockable through the game's progression. Some other features that are absolutely detrimental are the always online mode.
I didn't even know about that.
No more peaceful solo sessions, skating alone just a vibe. You're forced into a server every single time you load up. If your internet connection is down, well, you can't play. It's extremely clear that this game was built for YouTube content creators and the kids who grew up watching them. The developers know that their young demographic holds Skate 3 as the crown jewel of the series, and the videos they watched growing up showed creators pushing the game to its absolute limits. Speed glitches, massive unnatural gaps, and Mr. Beast-like challenges. This new game was built entirely around that appeal because, well, they probably don't care about skate culture. Ironically, the YouTubers who want more high-flying stunts for content are going to have to film their videos surrounded by 100 other online players getting in their way. Each of the 3 games in the series start off with you completing a simple ollie, kickflip, or small stair set, similar to how any other real skater would start their journey. The first thing they make you do in this game is parkour scale the side of a building and then jump a massive mega ramp.
No way, dude. I remember the first thing you had to do was an ollie. It was an ollie. It was a basic ollie. Come on, y'all. We're cooked.
Ending this game are children who grew up in this free-to-play model. The ones who don't remember a time when you could play a video game and not be constantly asked to buy more shit. This game is for the kids who thought skating as a piece of raw meat in Skate 3 was the coolest part of the game. And I know I'm coming across as harsh, but I'm not blaming them. They don't know any different. But when they play this game for 3 to 4 months and get bored and wonder why a game that had 15 years of hype died in a few months, rewatch this video and you'll see why. Then again, if you do just change your mindset a little bit and just accept that this isn't a true skate successor and it's more of a acrobatic parkour game with a little bit of skateboard mixed in, I can even live with that.
See, and the thing is this, because I don't want people to feel as though I am suffering from this. Like I said, the only feeling I get from this is disappointment. I feel like I probably would suffer a little bit if I didn't have any other skate games to play, but thank goodness gracious there are. Like I said, I have Skate 2, Skate 3, Skater XL, Session, and maybe, who knows, maybe some other indie skate game that comes out. But I'm good. I'm chilling. You know, so the only feeling that I have for this overall is just absolute disappointment. I'm so disappointed.
And it actually looks like it could be pretty fun for a bit, almost like a mobile game you play for an hour every once in a while. But the free-to-play model is something that literally every video game fan should be against. We have been purchasing video games for decades. We all understand that a company needs to make money, but buying something should mean that you own it. And if it's free, you don't own the game. Once they decide to shut down the game's servers, you will never be able to play it again.
A lot of y'all need to hear that. Well, not a lot. I need to keep reminding myself, like, there's not a lot of people that probably feel this way about skate, but who knows? Regardless, people need to hear that part. You guys really need to hear that. You guys think free to play, it's like, oh man, it's the best thing ever because I don't have to pay for it. It's like, at what cost are you doing that? Ironically, at what cost? I would rather pay for it. I literally would drop $60 on a game of skateboarding that has the whole thing, like literally Skate 2, Skate 1, Skate 3. I would pay $60 for that. It's crazy, man.
Plus, I find it telling that even though this game is in its beta release, the only thing that is fully functional is the microtransaction store. In case I haven't been explicitly clear, this game is not a love letter to the skate franchise or skate culture. This is a massive corporation using the die-hard skate fan base as a vehicle to sell digital cosmetics. The free-to-play model unfortunately has taken over gaming. It sounds good on the surface, but it mostly just ends with studios releasing incomplete games or good enough games, because in order to justify a $40, $50, $60, or $70 purchase price like they used to, they would have to actually make a game with depth. Making AAA games is insanely expensive. When a studio charges a one-time entry fee, there's a cap on how much money they can realistically make. Even if the game sells millions of copies, that fixed price can only earn so much money. But if they release the game as free to play, they won't make money up front, but way more people will try the game out, and they've essentially opened the doors to an uncapped year-over-year revenue stream by people buying it in their shitty little shitty fucking store.
Yo, he's absolutely right, man. I mean, I'm happy that he's popping off a little bit because it's affecting everything. It's not even just with gaming. It's all media.
And this approach isn't just limited to electronic arts. Studies show that more than 50% of revenue for many major game publishers now comes from microtransactions. Games like Asphalt 9 have transformed into entirely ad-fueled casinos.
Wait till you hear about mobile gaming. Wait till you hear about how massive mobile gaming is. And that's where the real dystopian kind of comes into play,
where progress is deliberately slowed to nudge players towards spending real money. Even worse, the microtransaction model discourages innovation. Instead of building great games from the ground up that will last a lifetime, publishers focus on maximizing engagement, extracting more time and money from players through cosmetic items and pay-to-win features. You don't need to sell a complete game anymore, you just need to keep players hooked long enough to open their wallets. So for Skate, yeah, they might add real skaters in there, but you have to purchase them as a skin. There might be sick new maps that mimic realistic skate spots for purchase. I wouldn't be surprised if they made in-game challenges or competitions that you have to buy into or wager just to play in hopes of winning more whatever dumb currency they have. And you might think that you have the willpower to avoid these transactions, but statistically speaking, most people will ultimately cave and make a purchase.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I made sure to let y'all know as individuals what you individually can do. Because when you look at the greater collective, it's obvious that, you know, we're not winning this battle, is all I'll say. We're not winning this battle right now. But hopefully you as an individual, you can at least win yours. And, yeah, hopefully, you know, if you guys took a little bit of what I said, it just helps you a little bit throughout these weird times, man.
82% of gamers made at least one microtransaction purchase in 2023. If you've spent dozens of hours playing a game, mastering its mechanics, and progressing through its challenges, then the developers are counting on you being more willing to part with a few dollars here or there to enhance the experience. This could mean buying a fancy outfit for your character, paying to unlock a new arena, or even purchasing in-game currency to just speed up the progress. The sunk cost fallacy can kick in here. You've already invested so much time, it seems foolish not to spend a little more to get the most out of your time investment. The only problem is, you aren't actually buying something of real value, and you also don't actually own it. Skate is not here to honor skateboarding, it's here to monetize it. Skate is not being revived because EA cares about skateboarding culture. It's being revived because they know you'll pay $5 to put a Santa hat on your skater. And when you get bored after playing it for a few months and you're wondering why you feel no desire to pick up the controller and get back on, you'll finally understand why people played Skate 1, 2, and 3 for over a decade. Because these games had soul, and they were made to resemble and honor a culture that has been around for decades and will last for decades to come. This isn't the future of gaming, it's the funeral. And as a grown man, I don't have time to be mad, I'm just disappointed.
Wow. Guys, he said it best, man. Patrick said it best. And is actually echoing what we've said. Because, again, I'm too grown to be into the whole, like, console wars or anything like that. You guys can keep that online. I don't really care. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're my age, you know, you're paying bills, you're living your life, you know, there's other important things. You realize video games are just video games. But, you know, you grew up with this. It's not like just because I'm at this age, I'm stopping playing video games. I mean, for crying out loud, I still like to skateboard. You know, there's soul in these things, and they help remind us that we have one as well, too. And it's such a shame to see how much of that soul is being evaporated all for the sake of profit. And just, unfortunately, how many other souls out there are just so willingly going into this vortex of whatever type of void this is when it comes to capitalism and greed and how creativity is just being munched on. And it sucks. For those of you out there that are like victimed by this, I really do feel sad for y'all, but I'm not tripping. You guys are living your life and I'm living mine. Like I said, I got my skate games. You clearly got yours. The only thing that I hope is that, I don't know, at the end of all this, you guys are able to still have a soul. All right, everybody. Well, that's going to be the end of it. If you guys like this video, by all means, go ahead, give a thumbs up, and be sure to check out Patrick's video as well. Excellent video. I feel like me and him would kick it really, really hardcore because, you know, we were saying some of the, if not all of the same things. So, yeah, again, guys, I'm chilling. I'm chilling. I hope that you guys are too. Stay tuned for more. Be easy. Peace.